All right, so introduce yourself for anybody who doesn't know, anybody who's new to the channel. Just introduce yourself. Who are you, and what do you do?
Alright, my name is Tony. I'm a truck driver.
Okay. What kind of truck driving do you do?
At the current moment, I'm a car hauler, but I will be switching to freight. I've done freight before, and one thing about being a truck driver, you gotta learn to adapt. You can't just run one lane and think you're gonna be successful. In trucking, you have to learn to adapt to different niches. You know what I mean, to survive, especially now.
Okay. So how long have you had your CDL for?
Good question. About 6 years now. Yeah, 6 years. I got it right before I got married. In October, I went to school.
Okay. Where school was that? What school did you go to?
I went to Prime Inc. I was a Prime Inc. driver. I found out through Prime because I was trying to figure out how to get my license and not spend a fortune up front. So I called a couple people. They wanted like $6,000 at the time, which is actually more expensive now. But yeah, $6,000 at the time. And my buddy said, "Hey, why don't you check out Prime? If you go to their program, it'll be free." So I said, "Okay." And I checked out Prime, and they had me on the bus, a Greyhound bus, within 4 days after calling. It took me quick.
Okay. So while you was at Prime, because I know I went to Nets, and they had two different programs. They had a program where you can get your license in 2 weeks, and they had a program that you can get your license in about 6 months. So you personally, which route did you go, and how long did it take you to get it?
The route that I went with Prime because, for one, the money situation. I had no money. I went to school. I jumped on that bus with $60 in my pocket and no money. At the time, I was doing really bad. I had a prior business. I was in the property preservation business, taking care of foreclosure homes, and the business was out of work. So I had to make a move. So I got into trucking because trucking I always had a passion for. One of my first real jobs was a box truck driver, and I was good at it. And I've always said I wanted to try CDL until I met my wife. Well, my ex-wife now, but at the time, my wife, she didn't want me to go to school. I was like 19, and I was gonna go to Cali and get my CDL, but I chose to stay with my family instead. So I didn't pursue that passion that I wanted to try, you know. Prime was good. They had me on the bus. I took through 3 buses. 3 buses. Wow. From Massachusetts to Springfield, Missouri. It sucked. I slept in the bus. I had no money. I met a couple good people out there that helped me with some money. You know, everybody was eating. I remember we went to Philly. Everyone wanted to try the Philly cheesesteaks. And I had no money, man, because I sold everything to pay my bills back home from my son and my ex-wife, you know, so they have somewhere to, you know, pay, you know, sleep, not lose the apartment. And it was really tough times back then, like really tough. So yeah, and Prime, all they asked for was $100 admission fee. That's all they wanted for me, was $100. So I had $100, $60 for my permit, and the rest came out of Prime. All I had to do was do the work. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't take it seriously. I didn't study. I thought it was gonna be like a walk in the park, like it was for my regular car. I thought I knew everything. I thought it was gonna be, this is gonna be cake. I was so wrong. I almost got kicked out for failing 8 times. I failed 7 times. They called me in the office and they said, "One more time, Tony, you got to figure out how to get home. They don't pay for you to go home. They'll pay for you to get up there, but they're not going to pay for you to get home."
Okay, so roughly a rough estimate, how long did it take you to get it? What's the average it takes for somebody to get their CDL? Because when I went to Nets, it took me 6 months because I had a student loan. So you didn't have a student loan, it seems like. So how long did it take you to get it?
I didn't have a student loan, but I had a contract with Prime, meaning that I have to stay with Prime for a year. That was the what do you call that? The catch. You know, they said, hey, we'll pay for it, but we got you for a year. And if you leave, we're going to send you a bill. I ended up leaving, but...
So you got a bill in the mail.
Yeah, I paid it, but I appreciate Prime. To be honest, I think companies like Prime are better than Nets. Not because of the money. It's way cheaper that way, but not because of the money, because of the training. The way that Prime sets you up is for success, to not crash the truck, run these miles, and they're going to teach you how to be a runner. You're not going to sit there, drive through a town, and be like, oh, we're going down a steep downgrade, and it's like a flat land. You know, like, they're going to give you the real hardcore training, and they're going to kill you. If you're not used to that, you're going to die. You're going to die. Okay. And I remember, like, I was struggling to keep up. My trainer was like, come on, the load, the load, come on, the load. Like, I'm like, oh man, like, I'm tired. And then it was a lot. It was like very hardcore of just running, breaking me in to become a runner. And I didn't like the process because I thought it was gonna be like simple. I didn't know what to expect. It wasn't simple. It's like, hey, you have a clock, and you gotta crush that clock. You know, they teach you in Prime. They teach you to run legally, with do your job and be efficient. If you're on time, you're late. If you're early, you're on time. That's their motto. And anyone that works there, they'll tell you, like, that's their motto. Like, if you're on time, you're just late. You know, if you're early, you're on time. That's just how it is. They have great equipment. I met some phenomenal people there. I met some crappy trainers there. I met some really good trainers there. I had a trainer that was in the game for about 35 years. To this day, we're still friends. I just talked to him probably like last month. My other trainer, I don't know where he went. He was like a young buck, and he had 2 trucks and 2 Prime, and made a lot of money, got in a lot of trouble. I hope he's doing well. Shot-town. But yeah, they drill it into you, man. Like, there's no joke. Like, they're gonna make sure you work. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I recommend Prime because you're gonna get that hands-on experience and you're gonna become a great driver. Knock on wood, I have about almost 1 million miles under my belt. Safe miles, never, knock on wood, no accident. Safe. I've been lucky. I will say that.
Okay, so you're speaking really highly of Prime, so you definitely recommend them for anybody who's trying to get their CDL?
Absolutely. I left Prime because I wanted more. I was in a rush for my journey, you know, like, that's most of our problems. We want to be an owner-operator. We want to make all this money. We want a truck. We want this. We want that. But we're not thinking. We're just thinking about the money. We think we're going to get a truck and we're going to just be rich and we're going to have 10 houses and we're going to live this fantasy life, because that's how they put it to you. That's how they put it to me. Oh, you're going to be a trucker. You're going to be a trucker. Oh my God, you're going to make so much money. But no one tells you, like, what's really going on. You know what I mean? Prime is good if you're going to be, if you're a rookie with no experience, no CDL, go to Prime. Get that license, get that training. When you're ready to move on, because it's a starter company. It's a good, solid foundation starter company. They got the Millennium Building in Springfield, Missouri, where they serve you steak, all kinds of food. It's great. They got a free movie theater there, pool tables. Really nice place. Really, it's set up like college. You go to classes, you share a dorm. It's like college. What they did was they bought a hotel and they turned it into a college for drivers. You know, they got their own doctors. They're gonna do a drug test as soon as you get out of that bus. Hair follicle, dog. No, I'm kidding. But they are gonna make you pee in the cup, and they're gonna, you know, if you fail for any drugs or you lie in that application about felonies or going to jail, or that you're getting kicked out and you gotta find a way home. So if you're from the Northeast like I was, and then, you know, you lie in your application, they find out you lie. When you get to Missouri, they're gonna be like, pack your bags, you're out of here. I got there with a class of 100 students, and maybe 20 were left. Some couldn't drive, some couldn't pass the drug test, some lied in their application. You know, it's something, you know what I mean? So 20 of us made it. Yeah.
Okay, I just want to circle back real quick. You said something about felonies. So I know at Nets, you can definitely be a felon and get your CDL. So at Prime, you can't have no felonies?
It's not that you can't have felonies, because trucking is a forgivable business. And a lot of companies get a tax. I don't know if people know this, but if you own a company, any kind of company, if you hire a convicted felon, you get a tax write-off for that, for giving a second chance to somebody. Because a lot of companies would be like, oh, convicted felon, drugs, or murder, or whatever. They just, you know, judging the book by its cover. A lot of companies get a tax cut break for that, to supply a second chance to a person who came out of prison. You know what I mean? Prime is one of those people that they will give you a chance. And one of my buddies I went to school with at Prime, he had some stuff on his thing. You know what I mean? And as long as you don't lie about it, you're honest, you're good. You're good.
Okay. So you get your CDL, then you get your first job. So how was your first job? Like, how was your first year getting that first job, your first opportunity? Someone took a shot on you. So how was that experience?
At Prime, or the company after Prime?
After Prime. You left Prime, you got a new job. How was your experience, and roughly how much money did you make your first year?
Oh, it was terrible, man. This is what I'm talking about, man. I work for these Russians, or Turkish guys. And these guys, man, yo, bro, they want to run you to the ground, bro. See, when I was a rookie straight out of school, right, I didn't know about way stations like that. I didn't know about how many hours to really drive. I just knew I had to drive. So I was driving, and they were just, you know, they were on paper logs at the time, and they were just like, Tony, drive! Tony, drive! And I'm driving because, yo, they throw money at me, bro. Like, I'm seeing money I made with Prime, I'm seeing that probably a month's worth of revenue of Prime, I was making that a week and a half with those guys. Because I was running. And I mean, I was out like 30 days at a time, just running, like exhausted. I ended up in the hospital. I ran so hard. I drove and 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 I drove, and I was like, I can't do it anymore. My body was just so broken down inside. Mentally, physically, I was exhausted. I tried to explain it to my boss at the time, and he was like, no, like, you gotta drive. I'm just like, no, I can't drive. He's like, no, you're driving. We gotta load. That's all they cared about was load. They didn't care about me. So long story short, I took a load to Florida. I parked in North Carolina. I couldn't drive anymore. I drove from Massachusetts to North Carolina. I could not drive anymore. I was exhausted. I was up for 20 hours. I shut my phone off. They kept calling me. My dispatcher was calling me. I get a knock on the door. Boom, 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 boom. Police. I'm like, oh, shit. It's police. What'd I do? They're like, oh, you're alive. I'm like, yeah. Now I'm like, why are they bullying me? So it's like, your dispatcher called. I thought you passed away. I'm like, why would they think that? I'm like, oh, the Lord. I'm thinking in my head, all right. So I call them. I'm cursing them out. And I'm like, you mother effer, you know. So I finished that load. I ended up in the hospital. I had not a heart attack, but like an anxiety attack. And just looking at the truck gave me anxiety. I just couldn't look at the truck. I took a day off. I didn't care what they said. The load was late because they gave me a team load with no team. You know what I'm saying? We're just running recklessly. I finished my job. I got back. The truck broke down. They picked me up. And returned the truck, and then they didn't pay me. They ended up burning me for like $8,000. I had to get a lawyer. I had to get a lawyer. The lawyer went after them. They ended up paying over 20 grand. All said and done. You know, it was a lesson learned for me. I had gotten an overweight ticket with them for $6,000 that they didn't pay. My boss after that paid it, so I wouldn't lose my CDL. And from there, I never ran like that again to this day. All set. I'm not. If I'm tired, I'm pulling over. I don't care. Done. You know. I learned a lot of valuable lessons there. You can have all the money in the world, but it's not gonna. Money comes, money goes. Your health, it comes, and sometimes it won't. It won't come back. You gotta take care of yourself. In trucking, if you really beat yourself up, you can really put yourself in a bad position. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you said you got a $6,000 overweight ticket,
Yeah.
and
Arizona.
your old boss ended up paying for it. So at what point did you have a job and you decided enough's enough? I want to open up my own company. What was that for you? Like at what point?
Well, I worked with my old boss, the one before this one, before becoming an owner operator, and he was good to me. He did cars. I did flatbed, and when he hired me, he paid for my overweight ticket, so I won't lose my license. I was doing cars. I kind of didn't like it. I was like, hey, when you're ready to expand your business, let me know, and we'll do flatbed. And he was like, he wasn't feeling it, And then one day he's like, Tony, like let's do it. And he went and bought the equipment, everything, like quickly. Then the pressure was on because I had to put my money where my mouth is. So I had to self-teach myself freight dispatch, deal with the load boards, deal with the brokers, the paperwork, and it was a disaster for the first 2 months because I didn't know anything. I was a company driver. Under his wing, with the right guidance, I got all the tools I needed to be successful. Hired a driver that I used to go to Prime with, and we team drove in that truck, and everybody made money. It was awesome. Great time. I learned a lot from my old boss about being an owner operator because he had multiple trucks. He maintained the trucks, where to get the parts, how to fix stuff, what to look for, what engine you should buy, what truck, blah blah blah, you know what I mean? And like that.
Okay, so this guy took really good care of you. So at what point did you say, okay, I'm ready to, fly. I'm ready to leave the bird's nest and just do my own thing?
I don't know. I just felt something inside of me that was like, hey man, you can do this, like you can do this. And I felt like nobody was allowing me to do it, like everybody wanted to put a leash on me. And I was like kind of getting tired of a leash on me. I want to be able to grow. Like I want to be able to buy a house. I want to be able to take care of my family. I want to be able to go on vacation. I want to be able to freaking polish my rig and be happy and proud of my rig. You know what I mean? I want to, fix every single nut and bolt that I can on my truck. You know what I'm saying? Some owner operators, they really, as long as it's good enough, because they eat into their profits. I don't care if it eats into my profits, to be honest, man. As long as it's paying the bills, the money will come back. The rates go up and down. It's a roller coaster. It goes up, it goes down. It goes up, it goes down. It's all about the decisions you make. It's how you're gonna survive. And my old boss knew what he was doing. He did freight and cars. He had both niches. And when freight was down, we did cars. When cars were down, we did freight. And some people are just afraid to adapt. If they're doing logs, let's say logs, they're doing logs. They're hauling logs, and logs go to crap. They can haul flatbed. They're like, nah, I'd rather just keep the logs, and they'll just suffer for however long till logs come back. You know what I mean? And you shouldn't suffer, because if you have a team of, let's say, 10 drivers, 10 owner operators under your company, your decisions will affect their livelihood, because they're all looking up on you and saying, what are we doing? You know what I mean? They're looking up on you. You're like the leader. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? And if you make the wrong moves, that's how you lose your drivers and your owner operators. Simple.
Okay. So you end up getting your own business. So
yeah.
How long were you in business for?
I started transitioning in 2019. I officially opened up, like I bought equipment in 2019. and I started investing in 2019. The end of 2019, 2020 is when I opened up, like legally, officially, in the middle of a pandemic, bro. Yeah, man. Again, rushing your journey. This goes back to rushing your journey. Basically, in a nutshell, I told my old boss, I was like, listen, man, I want to be an owner-operator. I want to run things my way. At the time, he was upset. He was in his feelings. And he was like, you know what? I'm closing it down. He made all his drivers. The option was either become an owner-operator, buy equipment, or just find another job. So they all went owner-operator. Because I was the first one that kind of pushed that era to go owner-operator, and I kind of did that at the wrong time.
Okay, so you opened up your business.
Yeah.
You told them you wanted to start.
Yeah.
So how did you start exactly? How did you do that? How did you get your truck? How did you get your trailer? How did you get the tools? How did you get all the stuff you needed to be successful?
All right, so I have good credit, right? I pay my bills. I have really good credit. I've always had, always try to pay my bills and do what I need to do. I made a phone call to the credit union that I'm associated with in California. And I said, listen, I want to open up a business and I want you guys to invest in me. And they said, well, what you need? I was like, I need about a good $25,000 to start. And they said, okay. The next day, the check was in the mail without question. Because I had a loan out through them already for a pickup truck that I have. And I always paid. And they said, well, we look at your record, you pay, so why not? They invested in me. The plan was to have them paid off in a year if everything went well, which it didn't. I bought a enclosed 2001 Freightliner Argosy flat nose truck and trailer, enclosed 8-car hauler. One of the worst investments I've ever. One of the worst investments I ever. This would just show you how desperate you are. You just buy anything when you're desperate. I bought that truck thinking I was gonna make some money. The truck went to California and back, made about $20,000 gross. After all expenses and the truck, every trip that truck took about to the truck just to fix it, like $7,000. Then $4,000 for fuel and tolls. It was just, and then insurance and all this other stuff, and tolls and parking fee and all this other stuff. I was being bankrupt every trip I did, and it was a nightmare, complete nightmare. So I told my old boss, I was like, it was his. I bought it from him. I was like, I don't want this truck. I want the Western stuff, because it used to be my truck when I did flatbed.
And is that this Western Star?
That's this one, yeah. That's this one here. And he said, say less. Come get the title. Because I already had overpaid for that truck initially. That truck, I was in it for $60,000 for the truck and trailer for the enclosed car hauler. But the Western Star, from what I paid on that truck versus this truck, it was already technically paid for. I just had to go get the title. So basically, I paid for this truck already a long time ago.
Okay, so
yeah,
you open up your business.
Yeah,
you end up getting all the things you needed.
So I went company driver for my boy, in a 7-car hauler, which is the trailer I have now.
Okay.
So I called my buddy. I was like, listen, I'll be a company driver for you for a year, and in return, I want that trailer, and I want that 7-car hauler trailer, and like help me out. He said, all right. He helped me out. He gave me the trailer. It's the trailer I have now. I still owe him like $7,000 on it. It's almost paid off. But I've been working with this trailer for like a year. It's a 2001 7-car easy load Cottrell trailer. It needs its work, but overall, compared to what I had with the Argosy, the Freightliner, I'm sorry, I shouldn't be swearing, but freaking disaster. Disaster. Nightmare. So this is way better. All
right, so a lot of companies went belly up during the pandemic started, and you're still here. But now we're going through something else with the war in Ukraine.
Yeah.
and this administration, and they got the fuel prices. So how is this impacting your business right now?
It's hurting bad. Well, my first year in business, let's start with that. My first year in business, this truck I had to put about $40,000 into this truck. So that alone almost put me out. You know what I mean? It was hard. My first trip out, I had a black algae problem with this truck from sitting. It was losing power. I was fully loaded. It was a disaster. After putting like about 10 grand into the truck before I even left, new tires, trying to, be that different owner operator, not that typical owner operator, you know what I mean? And thought the money was gonna come right back, but it turned out I broke down and I brought it to a shop and they destroyed they cut my fuel tanks to clean it. They welded it back. They didn't tell me. They told me after when I paid the bill, and I drove about 100 miles, and when I checked the fuel filter, I had metal in the fuel filter. It destroyed my whole fuel system. Metal shavings from the fuel tank being cut, not cleaned properly, destroyed me. Yeah. And then he ran the overhead on it. He ran it incorrectly, so it was too tight. It was choking up the valves. It couldn't breathe right. It wasn't running right. It was metal everywhere. It was a tough time. That's probably why I lost half my hair, man. Like, I was really stressed out. I'll tell you one thing. I'm Latino. I'm Puerto Rican. I'm not racist, but I will never let a Mexican touch my truck again. I'll tell you that. I'll never, ever, let a Mexican touch my truck again. That's how bad my experience was. So okay. I don't care if he's charging $2 an hour for labor. No, I'm all set, bro. I'll do it myself. I trust me. I wish I knew more. I wish I went to school for mechanics first before I did trucking. Because I think I would have been much better as an owner-operator having both those niches under my belt. So when I'm not making money from mechanics, I'm making money from trucking. Not making money from trucking, I'm making money from the mechanics.
Okay, so that was during the pandemic. So just to circle back, with the fuel prices and stuff, how is it impacting you, and what are your goals or ideas to counteract the high fuel prices? Because there's no secret that fuel is expensive no matter where you're at.
Right.
So what is your plan right now?
My plan basically is to adapt. Obviously I'm doing cars. Cars is not paying. There's a chip shortage alone with the cars. That destroyed the market. The brokers are lowballing each other, getting the customers to come to them. Right? So they're getting the customers to come to them. So one broker is lowballing. So the customer's like, hey, I want to transport this Mercedes. This broker will say, we'll do it for $900. This broker say, we'll do it for $700. They're going to go to the $700 one. These two brokers are doing nothing different. All they're doing is putting it on the low board, giving it to us. They're lowballing each other. So what happens is the rates go down, and you got those pickup truck guys, the hotshot guys. They're like, I could pick that up for like $450 and still be good because I don't have a huge tank to fill. I'm good. Even though they still have the insurance overhead, it's the same as a semi truck. They still hurt each other that way. So the brokers end up all cutthroating everybody, and then by the time it gets to the driver, it's nothing. Pennies. I'm tired of it. I'm sick of it. So I'm gonna adapt to freight, and I'm gonna rock with freight until things get better. Instead of going over the road, I'm gonna have to run either regional or local until this mess kind of sorts itself out. I call it the Great Reset.
Okay. So we're coming to the conclusion now. So you've been in business for a few years.
Yeah.
You're going through two different pandemics. The COVID-19
crisis.
Yeah, the whole fuel crisis, and you're still here and you're prospering. So what advice would you give to rookies or anyone who wants to get their CDL or even become an owner-operator? What kind of advice would you give them?
Yeah.
If they're a rookie, completely fresh out of school, or don't even have a CDL, what kind of advice would you give them?
Basically, like, if you're a rookie, don't get a truck unless you know this is for you, because this is like this is a cutthroat business. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's money to be made here, but it goes up and down. You know, it's up and down. Find a niche that you like. Find the equipment that is reasonable. Start purchasing your equipment first. Start, learning how to fix stuff. If you're gonna go a newer truck and just rent it, you become like one, like how Prime does it. They lease trucks to, I call them they're not owner operators. I call them glorified company drivers, because everything's on them, but they can't run where they want to run. And Prime's gonna tell you where to run. You know what I mean? So if you can't run where you want to run, you're just a company driver. Glorified company driver. That's just my opinion, though. So basically, if you're a rookie and you want to become an owner operator, learn everything first. Save your money, stack your bread, purchase your equipment or lease your equipment, however it is you want to do. Find your niche, whether that's going to be hauling cars, hauling freight, step deck, flatbed, drive-in, reefer. You know what I mean? There's so many power only, drop and hook, Amazon, UPS, FedEx. There's so many things you can haul. Everything comes on the truck. The trucking industry will always be up and down. And when it's down, that's when everything goes on sale. And that's when you want to buy your equipment. Right now, this market, you could buy a used truck. They're going for like $70,000 plus. It's insane. That's insane. New trucks are going for $200,000 plus. That's insane. So when the deals come, like we just bought a Freightliner Coronado for next to nothing. Yeah, it needs a motor rebuild, but we're gonna rebuild that on this channel. But for what we pay for it, it's a glider truck, like winning all day long. And it has a Detroit 60 Series 14 liter, so you already know my favorite engine, reliability. Yeah, that's my advice, man. Educate yourself, know what kind of equipment you want, and buy the right equipment. Get something reliable. Everyone has their preferences. I prefer Detroit. That's just me. Some people like the Cummings. Some people like the Cats. I can't afford Cat. The Cat's just too expensive. One turbo one has like $4,000 all set. But yeah, that's just my preference. So.
Okay, so where can they find you, Tony?
Check me out on check the YouTube channel out, starcartrucking.com. YouTube. I'm sorry, Starcar YouTube channel. We have a bunch of things going on, and you can check out my Facebook page. It's Anthony Lopez. Yeah, that's where you can find me.
All right. Anything else you want to say before we end it?
Yeah, man. I know all these companies out there are struggling with fuel, but this is gonna pass. I can't say when, but it's gonna pass. We just have to adapt. You know what I mean? And make sure your truck is running properly, breathing and running properly. That way you're not eating it at the fuel pump. You know what I mean? The fuel pump, everyone knows that in trucking, your diesel is your profit. So if diesel is eating up all the money, it's eating up all your profit. You're gonna be literally paying to work, literally. And unfortunately, that's the industry that we're in. So I love this industry. I have a huge passion for it. I love driving this truck. And I just hope that everyone can make it, man. And it's gonna be tough, but if we all, work a little bit smarter, we should be fine. The prices have to go down eventually. This is the government stimulus check. They're getting their money back. Mm-hmm. It's our turn to eat it, so suck it up, buttercup. We want to buy them, we got them. So there you go. It is what it is.
All right, thank you very much, Tony.
Thank you.
All right.
Peace.